Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Georgie's Lockdown Kitchen. So this week is National Book Week, and just like last week, I'm super excited to take you through some recipes that feature in my favourite books. And I'm going to take you through a different recipe for each book that I love and show you some of the tips on how I would make this particular dish. So tonight I'm going to make a chicken schnitzel with a fried eggplant, which was represented in one of my favourite books when I was a young teenager, looking for Alibrandi by Melina Marchetta. I'm also going to take you through how to make a really quick, super simple tomato sauce that I'm going to serve on top of my schnitzel, kind of turning it into a parmigiana. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy my interpretation of Melina Marchetta's Looking for Alibrandi recipe tonight. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is prepare my eggplant. So when working with an eggplant, the best knife to use is a bread knife because the serrated edges grip the thick skin of your eggplant and they make it a lot easier to slice. So I'm just going to take the top off here. Then I'm going to slice it in half. It's a really beautiful eggplant. And then what I'm going to do, because I'm just making fritters and these are going to curl up to be quite small, I'm just going to slice this into some strips. And then I'll cut them in half again. So the next step in preparing our eggplant before we put it in some egg and flour is you just want to put your eggplant onto some paper towel, some absorbent paper, and it will take some of the moisture that's out of the fruit. Then you're also going to add some salt. Eggplant is quite a bitter fruit, I believe it is. It's not really a vegetable, but yeah, it's quite bitter, and the salt will cut through that bitterness. And it will also add flavour when you are working with it in however way you want to present it. So obviously we're making fritters with this. We're frying it, so the salt is just going to add a little bit of flavour, but it's also going to cut through that bitterness. And we've put it on the absorbent paper as well because the salt will also draw out some of that moisture too. So we're just going to add a little bit of salt to this. It doesn't have to be a lot. You don't want to overpower that, and then we're just going to leave that for a little bit, and then we'll wipe off some of the excess salt and some of that moisture, and we'll get ready to dust it in some flour and fry it up. Next thing I'm going to do is to start to prepare my tomato sauce that's going to go on top of my schnitzel. so to make my eggplant fritters, what I'm going to do is just put them into a really simple egg and flour mixture, and then I'm going to fry them. So just like this, egg, flour, keep one hand for the wet and one hand for the dry. And you just want them to be lightly coated. Dust that off onto a plate and repeat with the rest of them. So just egg and flour, and then we'll fry. Okay, so I'm ready to start frying my eggplant now. So after I floured it, so I've got some olive oil in my pan, and I'm just going to place the eggplant in the pan. It's on low, and I'm just putting it away from me. And that will start to fry up. You don't want to overcrowd the pan either. And it's just going to be a light fry. Then once they're done, I'll take them out of the pan and put them onto some of this absorbent paper, and we're good to go. So I just turned my fritters over. You can see they've gone brown. The flour has crisped up, and these are nearly ready to take out and put in the next batch. Okay, so the next part of my dish is my Schnitzel. Ordinarily I would make these myself and crumb them, but I didn't really have time, so I bought these fresh cotoletta, which is Schnitzel in Italian, from my deli and from my greengrocer, and they're beautiful and fresh today. So it's fresh chicken breast that's been crumbed. It's basically everything that I would do at home normally with my own crumbing, but it's taken the hard labour out for me. So I'm just going to shallow fry those exactly the same way as what I did the eggplant. So I've got some olive oil in my pan, and I'm going to fry off my schnitzels for the next part, and then I'm going to make my red sauce. Alright, so my chicken is nice and crispy on one side, and I flipped it not long ago. I'm just going to check this side as well. It's a beautiful golden colour. I'm going to make sure that it's cooked all the way through, and then I'll repeat it with the rest of them. Okay, so my schnitzels are cooked. They're nice and brown here. I've just got them on some absorbent paper, some paper towel, and now I'm going to make my red sauce to go over the top. So firstly, what I'm going to do, I've just got some olive oil in a pan. I'm just going to sweat down my onions and my garlic to make this quick little sauce. Alright, so I've sweated my onions and my garlic down. Now what I'm going to add, some tinned crushed tomatoes. And some dried basil. As little or as much as you like. I love basil, so I always add quite a bit. Salt and pepper. And some chili. I'm just going to simmer that. Now I'm just going to add about half a cup of passata tomato puree. All right, so my sauce is done. Now what I'm going to do is put it onto my schnitzel. Then I'm going to add some mozzarella and some pecorino, which is a sheep parmesan. Then I'm going to bake it in the oven until the cheese melts. So just like this. Okay everyone, so my schnitzel parmigiana with eggplant fritters is now finished. So I hope you enjoyed it and you learnt something a little bit from this recipe tonight. Thanks again everyone for joining me on this special Book Week episode of Georgie's Lockdown Kitchen, and you enjoyed my interpretation of Melina Marchetta's Looking for Alibrandi. Super simple schnitzel and eggplant fritters. Stay tuned for my next Book Week episode later on this week. And in the meantime, stay safe and look after each other.